Yeah, I'm smacking my leg right now, and he's might forget you. Hey, Afton, would you mind talking? Maybe some numbers.
1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay. And would anyone say that Afton is being loud in any sense of the word?
Absolutely.
No, and it seems like I didn't hear you. Can you hear you on screen?
No.
You can't. Is the screen sounding weird, or is it just sounding weird?
It's sounding weird.
What's weird about it?
Oh.
What is that?
I have no idea.
That's not normally what it sounds like, right? Parker, does it sound weird to you? Does the stream sound weird, Parker? Dude. That sounded normal. Okay, but it's fine now? I wonder if it's because the mic's picking up your computer. But that tells me we should be able to hear you. Okay, so Parker's at home. So Parker, you're gonna do a sound test for us. Afton's gonna start saying some numbers, and you're gonna tell me if you can hear them, okay?
1, 2, 3.
You can hear him? Keep going, Afton.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't know if it's just that those other classes are too quiet and they don't talk enough or what.
I don't know.
But
Blaze, would you mind saying some numbers as well? Parker, you're gonna have to see if you can hear him.
90, 40, 72, 68, 22, 24, 97.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting readings. Parker, are you getting readings? You hearing them? Also, that's your profile picture.
yeah, we
I
can't
agree.
see it because the school blocks everything.
Yeah, I know.
Stupid.
There are many different ideas of how to keep kids safe. Good morning, ladies. One of those ways is to just lock down absolutely everything so you never find anything that might be dangerous to you. Because you are not, quote unquote, ready for it yet.
Like you can only find like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that they're always like, yeah, right. Like my mom with video games when I was younger, right? Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to play mature video.
Yeah, well, I wasn't around to play teen-rated games when I was 15, so you know what I mean, like stuff like that. It's just ridiculous, right? It's again, they're not ready. Okay, well, what are we doing to prepare them? Because if they're not ready now, they're not going to be ready later unless something changes, right? And apparently, the only thing that changes is your age. We all know that age is not really a sign of maturity. For people that are graduating from this high school right now that are key witnesses in that regard. Okay, so you guys are hearing them, right? Okay. I'll speed up the class if you're just super quiet. I turned the mics a bit. Anyway, you got your syllabus in front of you. People at home, I sent you a ton of emails yesterday. I forwarded a bunch. I apologize for that for those of you that actually use emails. The reason for that is because I have like groups set up on Google where if I want to email the entire class, I don't have to type out everybody's individual name. I just hit like G1.
Oh, crap.
And the problem was that when I set up G1, there were a bunch of people that were missing for some reason. And so I had to reset that up, and then I was like, crap, I don't remember which kids I added in that didn't get all my past emails, so I just forwarded them all to you guys again. I apologize. Sent you guys a link for a sign up on Google Calendar, so you can sign up for conferences next Wednesday. The plan is that you can sign up for whatever time you want, just make sure it's not interrupting your other classes. Okay? Your teacher's like, yeah, we don't do anything on Wednesdays, or I just kind of check in and then let you go. Then great, use that time to meet with me instead of meeting at like 8 a.m. Right? If you don't have time like that, then sign up between 8 and whatever, right? Regular class time. But I've got 69 students this year exactly, and 69 students at 5 minutes apiece adds up pretty quickly. Ends up taking me to the end of the day. So I want to give you as much options as possible. Make sure you sign up. They will. Time slots will run out. Yeah. So.
Can I borrow that Chromebook charger again?
Chromebook charger, yes.
Where did that one?
I have no idea. But this one works, right?
Yeah, but where did that charger?
Wait, does that one work? Does that one know? I'm pretty sure.
I think it worked. Well, the one worked here last time.
Yeah, that might be my charger, but double check.
One worked here last time.
I believe that. I got a newer charger as well. People need that. Crazy looking one. Is that working for you? Plug in on. Okay. Let's do attendance and then we'll get going.
How do you go on to the thing to sign up for conference?
So you click the link, yeah?
Takes me to Google Meet.
Takes you to Google Meets.
The portfolio conferences email, right?
I believe so, yes.
I have 2 links in it. One Google Meet and then
Yeah,
one
Sarah's
Discord.
emailing me about that. Do what I sent you. Hopefully it didn't screw up. Portfolio conferences. There's a, oh yeah, it does say Google Meet, doesn't it? What you want to click is the thing I didn't send you.
Why is it trying to do it
I
now?
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a reminder to you want to be filling out the remote learning application for this period. Thank you.
What?
What? Remote learning at what?
What? Oh my god. I thought we weren't supposed to fill it out. We didn't have a 7-hour class. And I don't have a 7-hour class. I must have misread that. Fantastic. Okay. Everybody hold tight.
Didn't we have the pledge last year at 4th hour?
I don't know. I
Why?
don't know.
Because all the whack kids got back then.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Here, after I'm going to email you a copy of this link. I think this is the link you want to use.
Okay.
If that's correct, I'll send it out to everybody.
Okay.
All right, let me find the thing we're supposed to be doing, apparently. And then I'll do attendance so I see everybody. Sorry, I'm getting this up late. Also, you guys can't see my picture, my beautiful face. Let me change that. For some reason, the default position for this camera at this school is off.
Yeah. I'm on it now.
That works? Okay, I'm gonna send out an email to everybody with that link. I apologize for the excessive amount of emails.
But it does say there are no appointment slots available.
Go to the next week.
Okay.
Does that fix it? There should be a little thing at the top that you can hit an arrow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Got it. Got it.
All right. I will send it to everybody. Hi, Paul. Mac, I do different stuff in my week 1, week 2 before that. Combine both different stuff. Week 2 will be next week when we look at it, Chase. All right, sending it now. So you should all get a link to that. Let me figure out what we're supposed to be doing today with some thing that I thought I didn't have to do. Like my expectations are already listed in the syllabus. For those of you that aren't in person, the syllabus is posted on Google Classroom if you want to look in classwork. Otherwise, you'll get it tomorrow. There's a page in there for your parents to sign or whatever, and get back to me. Nothing too crazy, just explaining our system. I want to make sure they understand what's going on. Let's see, I think it was an email from. Is this even editable? Okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't have permission to edit this document. If your parents are curious about how the class works, one, they can have a conversation with you. Two, they can look at the syllabus that I just made for you guys that has all the expectations of what is going on there. Is everybody clear with the expectations for online learning, like remote learning, right? You show up, you check in by leaving a message. If you can't leave a message, send me an email. I literally do not care how you tell me that you're here as long as I get it. Wait, you aren't here. Okay, cool. Let me do attendance, and we'll get to what we want to do today. Does anybody in here need to meet with me at the end of class for portfolio stuff? Right? You? Who does? You didn't do it last week, so we need to look at your portfolio stuff. Are you ready to show that stuff or no? That's not good. Anybody else? Any
Meet with her and all.
I met with you, I met with Joe. Blaze, I met with you. I couldn't remember. I know you weren't here.
I don't think we've met with her. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm horrible
That's
with
cool.
names.
Did I meet with you about portfolio stuff last week or no? No? We need to do that today. Do you have stuff to show me or no?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not, right?
There isn't that much.
Not much? Okay. Can you guys get that to me then tomorrow, Friday, after school, sometime between 1:05 and 3 o'clock? You can meet online, like a Google Meet or something? Okay, that's going to be your responsibility. We need to get that taken care of, okay? Today I want to do a couple different things, nothing crazy. Let me get attendance out of the way. So, if you're here, let me know. Looks like Chase, Paul, Parker, and Grant are here. So I'm looking for Macy and Geraldine. Everybody else seems to be here.
I'm confused on like how I sign up for the portal. I'm on it. Like, is there a link I click? Or?
So after you get there, click the arrow to make sure it's this week, right? Or the next week. There should be an arrow in the top left corner. So here, let me show it up on the screen.
I already got my son.
We'll go through it if you're not sure. Sorry, that announcement kind of threw up my whole plan. All right, so here's my desktop. What you're going to get from this email is this. We'll put this, right? This guy right here. Let me zoom in a bit. What's going on? You'll click that. And then what you're going to want to do is go up to this corner right here.
Click what?
Okay.
I didn't get that email. Like, there's like 4 emails.
Yeah, I know. I sent you guys a bunch yesterday because I didn't know who got my original ones and who didn't. Go to the one, the most recent one that I sent you.
Yeah, it says portfolio.
And then you should be able to click the arrow at the top here, and then you have a bunch of slots. I'm already taken up. So I'm giving you guys some slots on Tuesday and Thursday, just in case if people want to go early, so they can get a more preferred time at like between 2 and 3, right? Because you're like, I don't want to wake up before noon. God bless you. And then we have all day Wednesday up until 3 o'clock, and then Thursday also have a 2 to 3 slot for those that are needing an extra day or whatever. If you want to take an extra day, great, go for it. But honestly, unless there's like a really good reason for it, that extra day is probably not going to get you through this for you anyway, right? you should be writing about this stuff, if I were you, writing about the stuff as soon as I get home or in class or whatever, whenever you get a chance, because the longer you wait, the more you're going to forget about what we talked about. You can always go back and watch the video from that day, but like, that's a lot of work. So your call. Yeah, Macy and who else? You get everybody here except I don't know where Macy is or Gerald. So if you guys are online, let me know. See if I'm getting messages from those kids. Like now, just portfolio stuff. Zoom, zoom. Whoa. All right. All right. So want to talk about that. Everybody okay with the sign up stuff? Blake, can you find it?
Yeah, I got
Okay, rad. We talked about portfolio stuff at the end of the day, potentially for people that need to get that done. I want to spend some time actually looking at some portfolios today. You guys know you can go look at other people's stuff on Bolt, right? I would highly encourage you to look at it because that'll give you an idea of what other people are doing and what seems to be, what makes a good post. And I want to talk about that today before we get into the math. So where's my Bolt.com? And I have one up here already. No, I do not. Whole thing throughout my day. God. All right. Hi, Darren. All right, so let's take a look at some people's stuff. Get it up on the screen. Alright, cool. So I go to groups. You can select whatever class you want as long as you're a part of it. If you want to join other classes to be able to view their work or comment on their work, I encourage you to do that. So if you got a friend in like third hour or something, or maybe even in my algebra class, if we're doing basically the same thing, you can join their classes using class codes that I sent you guys. Again, one of those like 5 emails that I forwarded to you if you didn't get it before. Again, I apologize for all those emails. Let's look at the first period. So these are all different posts that are accessible by me, but it's probably better to go to members and then click the person you want to look at. So notice that like Mika, she's not in this class, but she signed up for the class so she can view other people's stuff. That's pretty good. Also, Karen isn't first hour either. She's in a different hour. She signed up, it looks like. Check out Chase's. He's got a couple different things in this folder. What number is different? Okay. So I like this post for a couple reasons. One, it's very clear what he's talking about. I'm going to talk about 9 and why it doesn't belong, and he makes a little paragraph about why that is. I don't need 5 sentences per paragraph. I just need organization. The whole point of paragraphs is not so you can say 5 sentences, now move on. Like, I don't know what your English classes have taught you up until now, but the idea is organization. You use paragraphs because I'm now going to talk about something different, right? And it's clearly delineated. Using some bold here to give it like a title to each paragraph is kind of nice, right? Especially for this type of problem. So it goes in for each different number and provides some solution, and that's good. Here's the comments I left for Chase, okay? And I know it's hard to see. Hopefully people online are able to see what's going on here. It says, excellent, Chase. I really like the formatting with the bold headings that made it very easy to read. Explain the 9 and 1 thing for 25. So it says, in the 25, when you multiply 1 and 6, you get 6. So you're talking about 16, right? You take the digits and multiply, you get 6. 4 and 3 for 43 gets you 12 when you multiply them. And then he says, we will say 9 and 1 equals 9 because it has to have another number there to be with it. So he's talking about, and again, he doesn't really have a picture for this, but there's our 4 numbers, 9, 16, 25, and 43. 16, 1 times 6 is 6. 43, 4 times 3 is 12. And then he says 9 times 1. And for me, I would look at that and say like 0, 9 would be the number, right? We need 2 digits, not 1 and 9. So I wanted to explain his thought process on that. But then he's saying, well, we get 9, 6, 12. Those are all multiples of 3, but we get 10 when we multiply 2 and 5 together, right? So he's saying that's why 25 doesn't belong. And 25 is one of the harder ones to figure out why it does not belong. Right, so I had some questions about that. I said also here's a picture that you can include to make this a little more friendly for people that weren't in class to experience the problem, and it's this picture right here. It's actually where I stole this from. I spend a lot of time on Math Twitter finding interesting problems. And here's the original image, right? So you can include that in your picture or your post. That way when I show it to people in class or you go to look at it, you know what he's talking about, right? Especially a couple months from now. You're like, what? Now Chase did a good job because he put in the title more or less, like what the problem was and explained it. I cannot tell you how many people don't do that, and I'm like, wait, what are we talking about? Again, it's not like I demand that you have to include the problem every single time, but it's probably good in most cases, right? Maybe there's a case where you shouldn't, but it's usually a pretty smart thing to do. I said perhaps you could ask the question to let people know what you're talking about, right? That's what I was saying. Also, would you be able to make your own which one does it belong problem? So almost always in my comments, I also include a way for the person to go further, right? So great, you answered this question more or less. Could there be more answers? Sure, right? There probably are. What about making your own? Making the problem your own is what really sets you apart from just barely understanding the problem to really mastering the problem, right? But you can create his own. You can use numbers, shapes, whatever. Keep your reasons to yourself, but make sure you have at least one for each number. I think that's how you can go further with this if you so choose. The reason I wanted him to keep the reasons to himself is because I'd like other people to try to answer and give reasons, right? But don't just pick 4 random numbers and not think about it yourself, right? I said, also, what do you mean by common numbers? So here, I believe that 43 is the odd number out because it's the only number not able to be squared. You can't multiply any common numbers to get 43. What do you think it means by common numbers? Yeah.
Numbers that are the same.
Say again?
Numbers that are the same.
So numbers that like 5 times 5 and 6 times 6 and all that stuff? It could mean that, right? You can be talking about how it's not a square number. That's true. What else might you mean by common numbers? When I say common numbers, list some. What are some common numbers? 5, 10, 2, 1, 7, right? What do all those numbers have in common?
No decimals.
No decimals, right? I think that's what he means by common, right? There's actually a name for that. And I gave him a little link that goes to the different types of numbers. And we're going to refresh your memory in here. Because a lot of you guys should have learned about algebra number sets, like natural numbers, whole numbers, integers, right? But most of you guys learned it at the beginning of the year and then they never talked about it ever again. And so you forgot it all.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares? We're going to be using that a lot. At least in my regular algebra class, we go back to that all the time. And here, when we're doing proofs, sometimes it will be about shapes, sometimes it will be about numbers. And it's helpful to break things down. Like, if you want to prove something true for every number, like every common number, right? You use this phrase. It might be useful to break them down to evens and odds. Because if you prove it for odd numbers, and you can prove it for even numbers, you've proven it for all numbers, right? Proving for all numbers is kind of intimidating, but you can cut those numbers in half by looking at it one way or the other. Same thing if you're like just whole numbers, or just 0, or just negative numbers, right? It can help you get stuff done and give you a path. Maybe you won't be able to prove for all of them, but you can prove it for a certain set. So anyway, this is what a good post looks like with this question. This was excellent. It was fun to read. It was good to go. Let me just, well, I'll read it out loud for you guys, because I know a lot of you guys can't see it. So why is 9 the odd one out? Well, I believe that 9 is the odd one out because someone in our class said that 1 plus 6 is 7, that's 16, right? 2 plus 5 is 7, and 4 plus 3 is also 7. And then you get to 9 where that doesn't work. A little typo there, that's okay. 9 could also be different because all the other numbers digits go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all these numbers right here have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in them, and then we skip 7, 8, and go straight to 9. That's an interesting observation. Why is 16 the number out? It could be because it's the only number that's even. You can only add 2 of the same numbers to get 16. 8 plus 8 is 16. The other numbers, you can't do that. I like how we stated this. You can have 2 of the same numbers to get to 16. 8 plus 8 equals 16. Other numbers, you can't do that. So there's 2 statements here. You can only add 2 of the same numbers to get to 16. Can you think of any other numbers that you can add to 16 that aren't the same? Obviously 8 plus 8, but what other numbers?
7 plus 9.
7 plus 9, right? So I don't know if that statement's really true, so what I can do is I can highlight this, and I can put a comment. What about 7 plus 9? Is this what you mean? And I put a comment there. And it will appear at the bottom, but it'll also highlight it'll quote him, right? So you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now I think I know what he meant. He's saying that all the other numbers, there's no way to add 2 numbers together that are the same, right? That's what he says here. 8 plus 8 equals 16. The other numbers, you can't do that, right? Give me two numbers, nice numbers, common numbers that add up to 9. You can't, right? Because it's odd. 4 plus 5 is the best you can do. Same thing for 25 and 43. I think that's what he means. But it's good to clarify. Where are you at 25? Where are you at 43? That's a good post. I think this is a good comment. Looking at how I comment stuff is usually a good way to learn like what makes a good comment, right? I'm going in and getting suggestions. I'm not picking his grammar apart. I'm not doing that, okay? Kid can figure that out in his own time. I'm offering suggestions of pictures that he could add. I'm asking questions about what did he mean. I'm saying, hey, you could go further in this way. Things like that. That's what a good comment is. This is what a good post looks like. So look at another one. Kind of annoying to navigate this one. We'll go back to groups. Let's look at another period. Let's look at period 3. See what they've done. C would be a good example. Let's look at Rowan. All right, so her style is more like writing a story, right? And she's asking, I'm not sure exactly what the problem is until she presents it here. She said, today in our math class, our teacher gave us a problem. It was simple, pretty easy to solve. But we weren't supposed to solve it. Well, not like we were taught to. He wanted us to think through the problem, to break it down and see different ideas, and not just go, oh, I see a problem with a variable, gotta use methods. The problem was this. And she talks about the u minus 6 squared minus 32 equals 0 problem. You guys remember that one? At all? Not at all? We had u minus 6 in parentheses squared minus 32. And we said, we're not going to do math today, we're just going to think about it.
That was
Right? Something squared minus 32 equals 0. Right? We use the word something a bunch. Maybe. Not your head's full, right? And she talks about her process with this, right? She even goes through. So obviously that something minus 6 squared has to be equal to 32 because how else would you subtract 32 and get 0? So she's talking about this. And again, this is kind of the suggestion I made. I said pictures would help. As you can tell, I think pictures would. Let me flip over this. So she's saying we've got this. And she's saying this whole thing right here, we can just call that something minus 32. Well, that something must equal 32, because if this didn't equal 32, we wouldn't get 0 here, right? 32 minus 32 is 0. So she's saying, I know that this must equal 0, or 32. Has to, right? And then she goes further to say, well, something squared is 32. Well, I know that must be the square root of 32, which is about 5, right? Remember we talked about that? It's between 25 and 36. So u minus 6 is about 5. Well, that means u must be about 11 because something minus 6 is 5, right? Well, that's about 11. And she just solved this really complex end of the semester, or end of the school year for algebra problem without having to do any algebra. Now, if you're clever, actually she did, right? First step in appendix would probably be to add 32 to both sides. Next step would be to get rid of the root. Next step would be to add 6, wouldn't it? That's where that comes from! What? Yeah, it's not just following rules, it's like thinking about what would make sense. A lot of you guys are asking, like, what do I do next? I don't know. Instead of saying, what would make sense to do next? And that's why I don't like regular math education. Bunch of zombies. No one has to tell you how to do every problem. You can just think logically. And you end up with the exact same results. But anyway, go back to what she was talking about. So continuing this train of thought, therefore the square root of 32 is part of the answer, right? So now we have u minus 6 equals the square root of 32. Now we have to figure out what the square root of 32 is. Well, not exactly figure it out, but make a nice guess, right? If we want an exact answer, we're not going to use decimals, right? Because decimals go on forever for roots, and you have to round, so it wouldn't be exact. If we want a rounded answer, well, why would we get out the calculator? The decimate, right? It's about 5. This is where I started to get a little lost, but I eventually figured it out, right? What I just said there was a little confusing, but we're now starting to get it more and more. Guessing it has to be somewhere around 5 to 6, right? I'm going to go with 6 because it's easier on my head. That's totally fine, right? We're obviously allowed to round since we're using decimals that go on forever. You want to round to 5, you want to round to 6? Sure, we can debate about which is better. But like, who cares? Now, with using a little brain smarts, we have u minus 6 is about 6, so She says, and continuing with these range parts, we get u is about 0. What do you think about that? You said u minus 6 is about 6, so u must be about 0. You know what she did, right? You saw that minus sign to the plus sign. I'm going to highlight that and say, double check that last one. And that's no big deal, right? Rowan was really smart throughout this entire post. And then got to the end and said, something minus 6 equals 6 means that something must be 0. Does that make them dumb? No, they were really smart the whole time, right? I told you about being a mechanic this summer to fix my car. Right? I took apart the whole engine, put it back together, totally fine, and then screwed up an oil change, right? And then I figured out that what must have happened. Making mistakes doesn't make you dumb. It means you tried and you learned, and now you're getting smarter. Too many people are concerned with looking smart instead of actually being smart. Right? Don't say anything because that'll look dumb. I want to look smart, or at least not look dumb. Go into the void. Don't be afraid. Take chances, make mistakes, get messy. Who said it? Take chances, make mistakes, get messy. What quote? Who said that? He's a teacher.
Is she teaching here now?
No. One of our other catchphrases is seatbelts, everyone.
Oh, Miss Frizzle.
That's right. Magic School Bus, baby! Baby. Beep, beep. All right. That's a good post. Now, do I need length? Do I specify length ever to you guys? No, because sometimes you don't need a lot of words to explain something. There's this thing called poetry, where you can explain something really complex and beautiful like love in like 10 words. It's just like the perfect words, right? Who am I to say that you need more than 10? Gettysburg Address is like 273 words. Very short. One of the most popular speeches, or one of the most famous speeches of all time. In fact, the speech that came before Lincoln was actually the main speech, and it was over 1,000 words. No one remembers that one. Lincoln was just there to show up and say, hey, this happened, this sucked. We need to move on. That together. We remember that one. I don't require length. Do what it takes to get the job done. If you're like me, it's going to take a lot of words because I don't shut up. And I'm not very concise or poetic. I'm not going to tell you you need 5 paragraphs or 5 sentences. Make a good post, something you're proud about, something that if I pulled it up on the screen, you wouldn't be embarrassed by it. Or if you are embarrassed by it, it's only because you're self-conscious, not because it wasn't, good. A lot of you guys, your own worst critics. Look at another post. Look at period 4. Look at Maddie's. Thanks. Maddie did a pattern machine. She gave this option. Again, she doesn't really state the rules or anything here. But she does talk about why they might make rules, right? She's answering it like you guys do most of your questions in class. Right? As short as possible, just vague enough. I'm trying to get through this, right? I'm not saying that's what Maddie necessarily did, but probably. That's how you guys learned how to do school. It's not your fault. And so I have lots of opportunity to talk here. But it's a good start. Think a little more about the rules. Like, first of all, what are they? Can you state them for me? It's really important for a couple of reasons. One, so your reader knows what you're doing, right? Like, great, it's a pattern. How do I know if it's a good one or a bad one, right? 2, if I tell you the rules and then you start doing it, you might interpret those rules differently than I did. Or maybe you forgot about something. And I'm like, oh, that's a really crappy pattern. That doesn't make any sense at all. But if you state the rules, then I know what you're thinking, right? Oh, they didn't say rule 3. That's why they think it's a good pattern. And if rule 3 doesn't exist, this is a really good pattern. Right? It goes from garbage to, oh, that's really good. In fact, when I first found about this problem on Twitter, a bunch of math people were talking about it and everything, and I actually misunderstood the rules. And I came up with a really good solution based on my rules. In fact, probably the best I could possibly do, given those rules, which is still a feat in itself, right? Take the rules so we all know what we're talking about here. So your solution appears to be 49, which I've heard is a very common score. It's pretty hard to beat it. However, look at the corners. What do you notice? So one of the rules originally was that you're not allowed to have a square that doesn't have open sides. So look at this square here. See how it has no open sides here because those are walls, and then it has a square on each side? That breaks the rules, right? So you gotta look at corners. And that's not a bad thing that she screwed this up. It's a good thing. That's how I discovered why this rule matters. Because my first attempt was very similar to a spiral. And then looking at it later, it's like, oh yeah, that doesn't work. So how can I fix that? Well, if you look, I can just go up and then over. And that's totally fine because this guy would have open spots here. And this guy would have an open spot there. And this guy would have an open spot there. So very easy to change this and get the same score and make it valid. Right? That's what this is about. It's about the process, change over time, getting better, improving what you're doing. Now, just because I leave a comment doesn't mean Maddie needs to go back and change this stuff. Maybe she hates this problem and thinks it's dumb. Maybe she'll come back to it 3 months from now because she's interested in it again. If you can't answer the question of why I'm writing about this or why this is interesting, then don't write about it. Find something else to write about that is interesting. If you need help with that, you know. Or look at other people's stuff. Get inspired. Do not show up next Wednesday with your C game. When you're in game, I know you're used to being held to certain standards, hoops that are easy to jump through, and the only difference is there's the kids that jump through and the kids that don't. Right? And the kids that don't are the bad kids, and the kids that do are the good kids, and they get the A's. These aren't hoops. And if they were, they wouldn't be so low. What's the point of that? All that measures is whether you're being compliant, listening to direction, right? If everybody can do it, that's all it measures. Did you choose to or did you choose not to? I don't care about that crap. What's yours? Make something cool. Don't be afraid to fail. Seriously. Failure is a good post. As long as you explain it. Make something interesting. No. My algebra class. Oh, wait, no. Proposed start statement. I've got a different idea. Let's look at period 4, period 2. I want to show you Sarah Westman. She did. Sarah says she hates math. But I think it's funny. Every kid that says they hate math usually ends up being the best mathematician. Here's Sarah's. Ooh. Fancy. Look at Sarah's pattern machine. She provides her a picture for what she did. As you can see, she dots the corners. Explaining why she made that turn there is important because it shows she understands what the rules are, right? So explain why you did that bend. Explain why you did this stuff. She listed out the rules, so it was very clear what she was trying to do. And her interpretation of the rules is actually a little bit different than mine. But that's okay, because now I know what problem she's trying to solve. Right? Adds little pictures, so Sarah likes pictures. And the first thing she said, what exactly are you supposed to do with this pattern machine? Well, you're supposed to try and get as many squares as possible following the rules listed above. Some people may ask, what is the point of this activity? Well, I believe that the point of this activity is to grow our minds. I think it grows our minds because you need to have some trial and error to get the most squares. Okay, sure. It's a lot of writing. It's not necessarily saying a whole lot, but, you know, okay. When I finished the activity I did with 48 squares, my method was make some sort of hills or bumps, and as I go to make sure I'm following the rules. Again, is it saying a whole lot? Not really, right? But it's okay. And she shows a little bit. So obviously effort was there, right? Definitely. Didn't really talk about her pattern or anything. So I go down here and I give her some suggestions. This is great. The next step is to investigate how to optimize. So instead of just saying go back and try it again, what if we changed the rules a little bit? What if we made the original starting area instead of 9 by 9, 2 by 2? Maybe you learn something from that would help you with the bigger problem, right? Because 2 by 2 would be really easy to check to make sure you have the best possible pattern. Right? It's just an L. What about 3 by 3, 4 by 4, etc.? Talk about the choices you have to make. Again, why did you take this corner off here? Explain that to your reader. Show understanding. Show that you know what you're doing. Don't feel obliged to get this all done by the end of the week, but start some time. But start some work on it. Again, don't feel like you have to solve this really complex problem in a week. You just need to attempt it, and make good attempts, and have good thoughts about it. That's what I want to know. Do you have good thoughts about this? If you don't really have good thoughts, then don't write about it. Find something that you have something to say about. Don't be your harshest critic, okay? But if you're like, oh, I'm repulsed by this problem, don't write about it, okay? You finally got a math class where you can pick your own adventure and only do stuff you want to do. Take advantage of that. Don't do stuff you don't care about, just because that's how school works. Like the bird that's lived in its cage his whole life, and finally the cage smashed and let go, and the bird can escape. It's like, no, I'm good, I'm gonna stay here. Don't be like that person. I know there's a tendency. Say one more. Ooh, notifications. And McDonald's publishing stuff. Nice. He's always got something good to say. I think it's second hour again. Aaron's stuff is usually pretty interesting. He's a pretty good writer. Also, the memes. Please include those. I love deep fried memes included. Look at this stuff. It's a kiwi. Looks at this problem. What could n be if we want it to go from smallest to biggest? My first thought was n could be 4, but we run into an issue where 8 times 4 is greater than 4 squared. So 8 times 4 is bigger than 4 squared, which breaks it, right? So he's talking about his attempts and where he went and what went wrong. That's beautiful. That's what I want all the time. Tell me where it all went wrong. And then keep adjusting. My next thought was that n can be 16. I mainly chose 16 because, again, why did you choose 16? Why did you choose 4, right? You chose 4 because I just thought, why not? 16, why did you go to that one? Because it fixed the 8 times n squared issue. 16 squared is much bigger than 8 times 16. But it has to be. 16 times 16 will always be bigger than 16 times 8. I don't even need to do the math, right? Okay. Now a new problem arises. 36 divided by 16 is less than root of 16. So this divided by 16 is less than that. That's a problem. This is 4, right? Go check out that stuff. I've been saying it, and you guys are just like, okay. I'm sorry. No, I don't care how many posts you do, as long as at least one of them is a good post, okay? 2? Do you feel good about it? Okay, well, make sure the other one feels good, or, whatever. We can just look at one. You don't feel like there's a lot of pressure. Just take your good work, okay?
Good morning.
Good morning. Because snitches get stitches.
What I do?
Talking about me. Jericho. What's Greg talking about you?
I did set up.
You did. Alright, if your desk already has the syllabus on it, it's because no one was sitting there, so I'm not going to clean it off. I'll get you some more syllabus. Spray that one. Good morning. You okay there, Amy? Are you sure? Okay. You need to see a doctor if you can.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. I got syllabus.
Yay.
Syllabus. Like your hair.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Today we're going around looking at some portfolios of parsing.
Why do I have
That way you can see what some good posts look like and what you don't. Oh, sorry. You don't need to see. See what some good comments look like. Hello, Corinne. Hello. Yeah, hello.
Yeah, I'm good.
You need like one of those rolly backpacks?
No.
I'm gonna buy
That's
one.
what all the cool kids have. It's because no one's seen it before. You're good. Oh, I do care. And I do know one's seen it. No one can still this. I care about you so much. Before I go to bed every night, I say a prayer for Corinne. Not because she needs it, but just like we all succeed when Corinne succeeds. Was anybody in cheerleading with Corinne and, or no, not cheerleading, what was it? It was track, wasn't it, in like middle school? Anybody?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. She has a lot to say about it. All right, hi Sarah. All right, I'll do attendance.
I just heard that one.
You got style, man. Seriously. Good guy. It doesn't even need to be so, okay? We're wasting everybody's time by saying how obviously Corinne has style. I decided to be really nice to Corinne today, and I have no idea why. What?
Can I like listen and also stay
What?
next hour and next year?
So kids, you can do whatever you want because this is life.
I'm just
and it's
asking,
your.
it's important to listen.
Oh my God, that is such a dumb question. But anyway, so that is silly. Okay, so you can do whatever you want in life. You can get up and leave right now. You can. You can turn to your neighbor and punch them in the face. You can do anything you want, but you are not free from the consequences, right? You can talk like a Nazi and act like a Nazi, but you're not free from getting punched in the face. That's how life works. When they punch you in the face, you can't say, free speech. Yes. You're not free from consequences.
Amy, you do this one.
Moving on.
Just a reminder, students, you are to be filling out the remote learning
Did you do that last hour?
What is it? What is it?
Oh,
We got a picture of it.
okay, because I have that document, and it's to tell you like what the rules and stuff are. You didn't get a syllabus, did you?
I did.
Okay, good. And I don't have editing privileges, so I can't like type in it. Or I don't know what's going on. And then it also said if you don't have a 7th hour class, ignore. I don't have a 7th hour class. And now it's a thing. I don't know. Maybe they're just saying this, and then it's for people that do have 7th hour classes. I should just ignore it. I don't know. But if your parents want to know what we're doing here, one, have a conversation. Tell them, right? You should be excited. Hey, guess what? No homework, Mom and Dad. There'll be 0 crying this year about math. Right? I can cry about other things. 2, I gave you the syllabus right now, and it says exactly what we're doing this year, and how, and why, and all that. Okay? There's a part in it where your parents can sign it, cut it out, and return it to me. Please do that. It just shows that they know what's going on, and that's important. Do I care about this? I'm gonna be honest, I don't. I'm not gonna be like, you have a 0 until you get that back. It's a bunch of BS, right? Like, I'm here to grade your math skills, not even grade. Assess your math skills, not your. Did I go home and get something signed? Oh my God. Right? But I think it's a good thing for your parents to be in the know, and that's one way we can say, look, yeah, they know what's going on. Right? When the principal comes to me and says, hey, that crazy new thing you're trying, your parents actually know what's going on, I can say, yes, look. No. They're going to kill me at the end of the semester. Okay, so let's do attendance, and then we're going to look at some stuff. I see Blake, I see Olivia, I see Campbell, I see Corinne, I see Darren, I see Shion, I see Annie, Marissa, Katie, Morley, Mika, Jake. I see in chat Sarah Weston. Oh, it's so wild that that class and this class are the same class. It's so weird. Okay, Jace is here. Kaylee's here. It looks like we have everybody except Ethan and McCartney. So Ethan and McCartney, let me know if we're good to go. I apologize for all the emails I sent you yesterday. What happened was that there were, I made like a group of contacts, so when I go in to type to a certain class to send an email, I don't have to type everybody's individual name, because guaranteed I'll screw that up or I'll forget somebody, right? So what I do is I just hit like G1, and then Geometry 1 pops up, it's everybody. The problem was that when I made those, classes hadn't been solidified yet, so there's some people that got left out, and so I didn't know what my past emails had been sent to people and which ones hadn't when I fixed that, so I just sent them all again and forwarded it. So if you've already read it, ignore it. I did send you 1 or 2 recent emails about next week, how we're going to do Google Meets or whatever, or portfolio review. That'll be Wednesday. You sign up for whatever time you want. There are also times on Tuesday and Thursday. Let me show you what that looks like, okay? So you should have gotten an email, and then another email that actually said, okay, sorry, I messed up. Here's the link. And when you click it, there's nothing, but if you go up to the next week, which is when we have stuff, here's all the sign-ins. You can pick any times. Notice there are times on Tuesday and Thursday. Thursday I only have an hour, right? So if you want to delay portfolio review to the next day, God bless you. It's first come, first serve. If you want to get done early, that way if you screwed up, you have more time to come back in and be like, okay, I fixed something, right? Go for it. But I only have an hour. I have all day Wednesday, 10 minutes each. I have 69 nice students this year. Nice, right? Ethan's here, wonderful. So pick a time, sign up, and we'll do that next week for portfolio stuff. If you need to meet with me today at the end of class, odds are we're not going to have time for it. For people that didn't get their portfolio submitted to me, that's okay. I can tell you this now. Actually, no, I'll tell you now. It's fine. Next week, the plan is when we do these portfolio reviews, is that I'll be recording our conversation. Instead of, and as long as that's okay, because instead of me taking notes of, okay, I gave them this grade and here's why and here's what we talked about, like, why not just hit record? And then I can put the link in Skyward, because Skyward has like 140 character limit for the comments apparently. And I can put the link in there, your parents can click it and listen to it if they want to. Or you can, if you're like, okay, what do I need to fix, right? I think it'd be more helpful for everybody and save everybody time. You have two options for the portfolio review conference thing. You can either do it through Google Meets, which is what most of the school is using, right? You can do that. I don't need you to turn your camera on, I just need Mike. It'll just be me and you, okay? And then the other option is Discord. Some of you have already checked out the Discord and been on there. It's a great place to ask questions about math, figure out what's going on in school, and be obnoxious. There's all kinds of different things on there. If you want to check that out, I highly encourage it. I've got kids all the time asking me, okay, I've got kids from last year asking me about algebra 2 stuff, like what do I do with this? I had a kid from the UK the other day that I spent an hour with, teaching them how to do area of shapes, middle school. So it's just a good place to go on there and ask questions. Get help. It's not just me that's on there helping people, there's other teachers and other people that have already done math. So it's kind of cool. But that has a video function, like a video chat function and voice chat function on there that's really easy to use, way easier than Google Meets. So if you want to try that out, that's cool. The only downside is it's much like all the Google things, the school blocks it. So if you have a cellular device that can connect to the internet, Discord is super easy. You just pop in and talk whenever you want, kind of like a phone call. Whereas Google Meets can be different and difficult, especially if Google doesn't play nicely. So yeah, there's that. Other thing, talk about solicit, talk about this, talk about that. Is there anything else I can do? Will this, when I get to portfolio, talk about conferences. Yeah.
I didn't look two.
All right.
I didn't look one.
Yeah, I've got everybody here except for McCartney. So McCartney, if you're in chat, let me know. Let's go take a look at some portfolio. Okay, so I want to show you what makes some good posts and what makes a good comment. Let's take a look at first period. Notice I never tell you how long the posts have to be. I never tell you how many you need to make. Because I would rather look at one really good post than like 5 really crappy posts. Especially since one really good post probably takes me less time to go through. Right? And it's probably much more enjoyable. I don't require a certain length because, I mean, the Gettysburg Address is 271 words. And that was pretty important and well remembered. I think 407 years ago. What's funny is that the speech, that was like the main speech at Gettysburg, like thing that was going on, was like over 1,000 words. It was given by somebody else. No one remembers that speech. Lincoln just came on at the last minute to kind of like give a little thing. It's become one of the most famous speeches of all time. Length doesn't matter. So, right? Nice. So, I don't want to specify that. There's a thing called poetry, right? Where you talk about really complex things like love, beauty, truth, justice. And you use 10 words, 10 perfectly chosen words to really describe those complex things. And that gets the point across, right? In fact, that's the best poetry. So I'm not going to tell you that you need 5 sentences, 5 paragraphs every time you make a post. Now, if you're like me, you probably do, because I'm not concise. I have to use lots of words to get my point across. I wish I was a poet, I'm not. It's up to you, okay? some good ones. So if you go here to group one, the group here, you can join this group if you want. I sent you an email, one of those many that I sent for you the other day. And you can join this group even though you're not part of first period, and you can actually look at their posts. I encourage you to do that. Oh my God, do not come in next Wednesday without having looked at other people's posts. Some of you guys are bringing your D game, okay? No jokes. I need your A game. A game. Now your A game might be different than your A game. Your A game might be different than your A game, but I need your A game, everybody. Do something you're to be proud of. So that when I showed up on the board to somebody as an example, you're not going to be embarrassed by it. Unless you're just like super self-conscious, that's normal. Really about that. But if you're embarrassed by it because it sucks, actually sucks, then yeah, you don't want that to get back. Okay? Do something cool. If you finally have a math class where I'm not requiring you to do anything, and I'm letting you do what you want and actually learn, take advantage of that. Don't just write about stuff you don't care about now. That's like the whole point. Let's look at some good ones. Or at least let's look at some. Let's see, here we go. Here's my first hour. Notice that Mika is not part of first hour, but she joined, so she can look at other people's stuff. Same thing with Corinne. Let's take a look at Shakespeare. So go here, let's look at which one doesn't belong. So he clearly states at the beginning what number is different from these guys. Pictures are better than words, so I suggested later on, you'll see in my comments that he included this picture. That's actually where I got it from. And how would he know, right? But that's where I got it from, and I sent it to him. That way, make his article a little bit more easy to read for the reader. What he does really well, I think, is that he maps it out. Like, he's got a different paragraph for each number, and he highlights exactly what he's talking about in that paragraph. Now, is that always something I want you to do? No. Sometimes that doesn't make sense to do that, right? And you should be able to do it your own way. Because the idea of writing is being able to express it yourself, right? But I like this. He says, why is 9 the odd one out? Well, I believe that 9 is the odd one out because someone in our class said that 1 plus 6 equals 7, 2 plus 5 equals 7, and 4 plus 3 equals 7. Where's he getting those numbers from? Well, if you're clever, you'll realize he's saying 1 and 6, the digits is 16, 2 and 5, 4 and 3. They all add to 7, but 9 does not. He also says 9 can be different because all the other numbers digits go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you look at these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 show up. And then 7, 8 are gone, and then there's 9 right now. Okay. Why is 16 the number out? It could be because it's the only number that's even. You can only add 2 of the same numbers to get 16. 8 plus 8 is 16. And the other numbers, you can't do that. Now, I left a comment here. I highlighted this, and I left a little comment. Because I was confused. He says you can only add 2 of the same numbers to get 16. Well, I don't think that's true, right? Can't you add like 15 and 1, 14 and 2, 13 and 3, right? Jason makes really good points. The fact that he moves this up doesn't mean he's dumb. I think what he's saying is different than what his words actually say. Because he later goes on to say 8 plus 8 equals 16. The other numbers, you can't do that. Ah. He's saying that the other numbers aren't able to add up to 2 of the same numbers, right? And that's because they're odd, right? 9, 4, and 5 is as close as you can get, right? 4 and 5. That's what he means. So it's good to clarify. Why is 25 the different number? When you multiply 1 and 6, you get 6. That's the digits of 16, right? You get 6. 4 and 3 are the digits of 43. You multiply them and you get 12. You see a pattern here? 6, 12. He says, we will say 9 and 1 equals 9 because it has to have another number to be with. So notice 9 isn't double digit. And so he's like, well, let's just put 1 with it. Now, I had a comment about that. Well, putting a 1 with it, isn't that 19 or 91? Isn't 09 really the 2-digit number that's there? That's a bit different. So I made a comment about that. Good thought. So he says that 6, 9, and 12 are what you get there. I'll just by 3, so that's why 25 is the odd one out. Because it adds up to 7. Now, 2 and 5, you don't get 10, so it doesn't work out. Okay. Or you do get 10. So it doesn't work out. 43, odd one out. I believe that 43 is the odd number out because it's the only number not able to be squared. Well, not able to be squared. Can't you square 43? You can square it, right? You can square any number. I think you need something different. So I'm going to go here and make a comment. Do you mean it's the only number that isn't a result of